During extra school, Eddie, what was your hardest class?
My hardest class, probably anatomy. Just trying to memorize everything.
Really?
Yeah. I used to have to. My mom actually came up with a good idea. She got this anatomy like kind of workbook and just stuck it in the bathroom. So anytime I'd have to go to the bathroom, that was my reading material.
Dropping knowledge.
Yep. And just sit
smart.
there and just go over it. I mean, it had everything like, the skeletal system, the muscular system, the lymphatic system, and it'd just go over everything. So I would just sit there and read it over and over again. Just be like, please remember this. Please remember this.
Definitely making a good use of your time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, when you're in that grind of X-ray school, man, every little bit helps, man.
Oh, yeah. I used to, like I said, working at McDonald's, having the bun tray, I would stick my books in one of the empty trays. And then so in between making sandwiches, I'd pull that out. I'd just sit there and look at the book.
Oh, wow.
Dude, that's
dedication.
Yeah,
bro.
man, that's awesome.
I essentially was paying for college myself. So I'm like, I can't screw this up.
Yeah. Yeah.
John, how about you?
Probably the radiation physics was the toughest at first.
Yeah.
Just because I'm more of a hands-on learner, and so the anatomy and positioning classes, they kind of were a little bit more easier to understand because you're like, oh, you turn your wrist this way, it looks like this on this picture, and then you once you learn the basic anatomy, you understand why something looks one way.
Yeah. It's easier to wrap your head around.
Yeah. Whereas radiation obviously can't see it.
Yeah.
So you don't know the effects.
This electron is slinging around this way, and it's a little more heady.
Vibrate.
and then also at the time we were learning film, how to do all the processor, how to mix.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we did too.
And
Oh my!
That racking your head around silver bromide was.
I think
yeah.
Roosevelt just got triggered. He's like, developer.
Guys,
He's shaking.
when I was an actual a tech aide for another hospital, that's when we were processing film. I was changing the fixer and developer, but no one was there, so I didn't know which one to put it in. Right? You would think it'd be easy, right? So he's like, oh, a square one, a square hole, but both of them were the same shape.
Ooh, that's rough.
So I didn't know which one went to. So
Sort of a big deal too.
I feel like this has a bad ending.
And so the technologist that was there was running his films or processing it, and he was like, "Oh, why is it blank?" I was like, "I don't know."
What'd you do?
He kept on going. He kept on going and going and going. I don't know. He did it maybe 2 times. He went to go, shoot the X-ray again, and then he processed. He's like, "What's going on?" And
is the tube out of X-rays?
and I was like, "I don't know." And I was like, "Oh man!" And he checked the fixer and developer, and he knew it was the wrong one.
Did he bring it back to you?
Oh no, I
covered your butt.
No. I was scared. I was 20, and I mean, I told him the truth. I was like, "No, man, I put it in this way." Blah blah blah.
I think you're.
But he was.
Totally seemed like
I'm going to text him right now. Give me his name.
No, man, he was a good mentor of mine in X-ray. Man, he taught me a lot of stuff, and while I was working as a tech aide. But
how did he take this
next
news
day
that it was you?
Did he make you go repeat the X-rays for him?
No, he was cool with it. He didn't really make a big deal out of it. But the next day, when the old manager came, didn't say anything, but I knew it was
a big deal because it really screws up the whole system.
It was a lot of money to fix it.
Oh yeah,
and I felt like crap.
Sure,
I was like, oh man,
that's rough.
That I was like, oh, I'm gonna get fired.
Also, you were working. Oh man, that's rough.
But yeah, so
that could have been the end of your career.
Yeah. Super.
That's the end of my X-ray story. I got fired for that developer.
I'll have to be honest with you. At that time, the technologist I looked up to him a lot, and actually, a person that we know mutually, he was the manager of it, and he was so laid back. He was like, all right, we're gonna have to.
Well, I've learned, especially as I've gotten older. I mean, in situations like that, especially where there's no malice.
Yeah.
Now, if you're like, yes, you know what, I'm gonna do the old switcheroo on the processor. No, if it's a genuine mistake, obviously you want to kind of address it, see why it happened, and if there's no malice, it's no harm, no foul. I mean, that's what that's the approach. What I would say is a good leader would take, because it's like, why? I'm sure you beat yourself up 20 times more than any tech or manager would have.
Oh yeah, because I knew the amount.
Sure, yeah.
What
was it?
like-
What was it? How much?
I did a little training
It was. I don't know the exact
Thousands?
It was. Oh yeah.
I did a little training in MRI.
I mean, it was. We're talking about like close to like maybe
10K?
no, way more than that.
Oh, way more.
Like close to going into like hundreds of thousands
so
just to
you-
clean.
Oh, so,
you
it is like
really-
quenching a magnet
Yeah,
in MRI.
it was-
Because I
oh,
remember
yeah.
that's
it was
the biggest
legit.
thing
You
they
had
would
to
tell us.
flush
Yeah.
it. Like
Oh.
it was down for a day or two.
I'm big on leadership. I would have fired you.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
Yeah, I was actually expecting it. I was like, God.
Wow.
Hey,
Yeah,
hey
good on
Roosevelt, why don't you test these BE tips out for us?
I mean, I went searching for fallopian tubes one time, man. I think
I was
that
going to say, yeah.
Ooh, I think I remember someone doing that to you.
Yeah.
Well, we also used to tell
was-
students to go in and get samples of the radiation in the X-ray room.
Like a container.
With usually with like the bag you put cassettes in,
Oh,
you gotta
okay.
slide on it, and then we're like, yep, no, you
that's
got to
not
go
cool.
over, you got to get it from each corner, and then you got to go give it to the radiologist.
Oh, wow. Dang. That's a double whammy there. Oh, man, that's rough.
Oh man.
100K.
Patrick,
That's wild.
what was your hardest class?
Hardest class. Oh, man, honestly, I mean, physics was hard. It was hard, but I was able to kind of wrap my brain around it. But for me, I want to say it was like, I know what it was. 100%. Radiation biology and protection. That was the hardest class. Because for me, it was just 100% memorization.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't any kind of like, it was just memorizing stats. It was like, hey, you can have this much. Now I do a lot of it. So now I know it pretty well. But back then it was just, I couldn't really bring it back to anything on this,
Relatable.
Yeah, it was just, hey, here's the stats, here's the ranges, here's where you're at risk, here's where you're not at risk. I wasn't good at that is it moat? Look that
I
up.
think
Moat
so.
memorization, is that where you're just, did I just make up a word?
I don't know.
Google moat.
sounds familiar.
MOTE.
Is there apostrophe on that? Or
I mean, I barely even know moat.
Mate.
What's it say?
first Google search is Moat Marine Laboratory and
Oh,
Aquarium.
wow. What am I trying to say?
Dictionary, a tiny piece of substance.
No, what am I thinking? Where you just straight up memorize something? Can you Google straight up memorize something?
Memory.
Moat? Like, isn't that the thing around a castle?
Yeah, it's
That's-
the thing
that
around
wa-
the castle.
bro.
That's MOAT.
M-O. Okay. Well, it's definitely not. What am I thinking of? Eddie, help me out here.
I don't know, man.
Wow. Nothing. Wow. Thanks, bro.
Google did not return any results.
Wow. That's actually. You
What,
straight up
do
make that
any
up.
of you guys know what I'm trying to say?
No.
Where you just straight up memorize something? I've been saying moat for a long time, y'all.
That's. No, I
You're
just
talking like
know it.
photographical memory?
No, not eidetic memory.
No, where you
That's,
just straight up. Oh, man.
just memorize.
No, I've been saying this a long time.
I don't
Dang.
know, moat, man.
But I say it like, when I say it quietly because I don't have the confidence that's an actual word. I'm like, yeah, I just had to memorize that. Oh, wow. No. All right. If you know the word I'm trying to go for, leave a comment or something.
Yeah, leave it in the comments.
Email. You got an email for this thing?
No, don't email me with that.
Wow.
Just leave it in the
So do you have an email?
Yeah, we do. We do have an email.
Oh, well, give it out there so they can email you.
All right. Oh, fine. It's Catherine.
Why am I having to pull this out of you?
It's catherjockeys@gmail.com.
All right. Why were you so defensive about that?
Because I don't want it. I don't want everybody emailing me. Check that thing.
We got spam filters.
What
the
if
whole- I
Longhorn
was
is
gonna
trying to
say-
email us right now for a sponsorship?
Isn't that the whole point of making up an email for this?
Yeah. Yeah. What were you going to do with that email?
I guess so.
That's a really specific email and you kept it secret.
All right. Well, yeah, you're right. I get it.
What was it again? I already forgot it.
Catherjockeys.
I have a feeling
gmail.com.
this isn't an actual email, but
He's gonna
as
make
soon
it
as the
right after
podcast
this
is over,
casting.
he's going to go and like, crap, I better get that dialed in.
No, it's legit. You can look it up right now.
All right, so
catherjockeys@gmail.com.
Well, obviously, by the time this goes out to the public, they'll be able to look it up.
yeah, so if you know the word I'm trying to look for, forget it. If you have questions on X-ray school, you're on your own. But if you can give me that word that I've been saying wrong for years, that would be great. Moat. I'm really stuck on that moat.
Mnemonic.
It's that earworm he has right now. You won't let it
sorry.
go.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, man, I actually like radiation biology. I loved it actually.
Moot?
Moot is something
Sorry.
else now.
Moot.
I know, Eddie.
I taught radiation biology too, for the school.
Oh, that was
You
rough.
taught too. So I forgot. What did you teach?
I taught all the sciences.
Oh yeah, that's right. You had to get
For a pretty good spell, if you went through the community college program that we graduated from, I taught all of the science, which was like about. I might be wrong on the numbers. Lord knows I'm not good with words. I taught like 60% of the almost. I taught a really heavy percentage of the program because it was all the sciences. We're talking exposure 1 and 2, depending on what your school calls it. Cross-sectional anatomy. We had a quality management class. I taught all the sciences as an adjunct.
Yeah.
And radio bio was the toughest to teach because it was just like here's your information.
Threshold, non-threshold.
Yeah.
What was
Yeah.
the other two? Shoot, forgot.
Have you given up on that word?
It's
Google
been
doesn't
16
know.
years since I
I'm
was
probably
in
putting the
school.
wrong things.
Oh yeah, yeah. Mine was definitely exposure. Exposure was tough for me, man. It wasn't because it wasn't black and white.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I don't know. I guess it was.
I was always
don't
good
know.
at like exposures and techniques.
It wasn't.
stuff.
It wasn't.
I also used to spend extra time in the lab. I
Yeah,
used
well,
to love shooting the dummies and stuff and
Oh,
just
true.
trying different things.
we did too. And by the way, you know what?
And just messing with technique, and how things would come out. And
Yeah.
Because I'm like not hurting anybody. It's a dummy.
No, that's actually no.
Did you have like a live lab?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we had a dummy.
did
Its
not.
name was Pixie.
Ah, nice.
We did not. We had that.
But I mean, this was like the oldest X-ray equipment. It was like the knobs on your TV back in the
we
day.
had something
Oh,
similar
yeah.
to that, yeah.
Oh, I still get anxiety about
Like
having to do those
1980s
fractions
computer.
in my head.
Yep.
Dude, I still have my exposure like
I'm actually glad
Notebook
that we did
for
learn on that
techniques.
old
Shout out to
equipment.
Bouchon.
Bouchon.
I'm actually glad that I did learn on that old equipment because then when I did get a job and they had better equipment than that, I was like, oh no, this is a piece of cake.
Yeah. Everything's about that perspective, man.
Yeah.
Whereas you kind of touched on it earlier about how there's not much of a, I don't want to say repercussions because there's definitely repercussions for retakes, but when you had to go
Alara,
hoof,
bro.
when you had to go hoof that portable to the 8th floor, man, you better make sure that everything was dialed in, positioning,
Oh,
technique.
yeah.
That's before
Now
they
it's
drove
like-
themselves too.
Now it's like firing off a bad selfie. You're just like, meh. We'll do another
More
one.
pictures.
I'm sure they take it more seriously than that, but that's, as someone looking in, it just seems like
No, when
if I had digital, I mean, I had digital when I was doing X-ray, but it's sort of easier. The technique because of digital is, if you use it right, is a lot less, and it's just easier to do a retake because if you screwed up right then. So that's naturally going to make you a little lazier.
Well,
Whereas
also
if you
being
have-
able to, like with film or even the early parts of CR, you couldn't go back and necessarily mask something like you can do with digital. You can go in and change the borders around if you had.
Right.
If you didn't take a necklace off, you can kind of cut it out and get
Yeah.
it out of the
If
way.
you didn't expose enough, you couldn't really torque the histogram that really much
Yeah.
to get a better picture.
twerk the histogram. That's my new
You ever,
band.
click, click, click.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I left off at CR, man. I didn't have anything digital.
Oh, you had no DR?
No, I was pretty much done.
We had one room that was DR, and it was like, it seemed like it was worse than CR at the time because it was like one of the first machines.
Have you
This-
messed
that's
with the
the
DR
problem,
plates
too.
now? They're like the size of a regular cassette now.
Oh yeah, they're
Yeah.
nice.
Squared away.
Yeah. When they first started out, they were like
They were beefy.
yeah,
They were
like two
big
inches
boys.
thick. Trying to slide that under somebody, and they were all corded. They weren't wireless.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was
yeah,
gonna say,
yeah.
and
Now they're smaller than a CR cassette, smaller than a
Thinner.
film cassette. Yeah, it's crazy. Really expensive.
But you know what? I was thinking too when we were having that other conversation, prior conversation, that shout out to our actual instructors, like they
Big
were
shout
really
out.
supportive of what we did professionally and going through school and stuff like that.
We got lucky because they were both really compassionate.
Oh, yeah.
That was the biggest takeaway.
and we're still friends. Like
Yeah.
both, yeah, we're still friends with them now. And it's
best
just-
friends, maybe. Shout out to you know who you are.
But no, man, it wasn't like, oh, well, think about it. When
Yeah.
I would ask them something, they're like, oh yeah, we'll do it.
And I remember for our positioning teacher, she really drove in. Because here, you go into clinics. If your program, you probably did didactic and then you did clinicals.
Yes.
You're in the classroom for a couple months, or
Yeah,
however
and then
long.
we go do a clinical,
We would
then
go
we
to
come back
class
in
on
class.
Monday, and then we go to clinic on Tuesday, and so you would go to the hospital, and the techs, man, they're grinding it out. They're trying to not get behind. They're trying to do as safe, efficient as they can, and quickly. And they can get a little jaded. But our instructors, they really, at least when we were there, they really dialed in the compassion side of it. Like, hey, I'll never forget. She would always say, "Hey, this could be your mom on the table here. You got somebody.
You're right.
You got a teacher. You got a teacher telling you something like that, and really meaning it, and not letting you just be dismissive of that. Man, that's it's a good thing to learn when you're in that fundamental stage of X-ray school.
Yeah, they were really she had a lot of advice that I still hold to this day. So like I
100%.
always take it because she spoke from the heart, and it was from her experience. So when I remember when she was starting out, she was the youngest too. So like she told me
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so whatever. Everything she said, like I listened to, so it all came into fruition too. So
Hey, shout out to X-ray teachers out there.
Yeah.
for shizzle.
Shout out to all teachers.
You know what? Yeah, that was very insensitive of me. I'm like, hey, sorry, every teacher ever. Shout out.
Hey, shout out to you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Shout out to you too, Rosie. Okay. Thanks, Patrick.
You're welcome.
No.
Not
no
that-
moat. No
John.
moat.
John's
no.
playing with the cameras right now.
Do you guys have a moment that it was terrifying? Like it was you still remember it to this day? Because I do.
I got a pretty good story.
Yeah, go ahead.
My first day as an X-ray tech. Yeah, I get
Right
hired.
out the gate.
Yep. Working overnights at a hospital, local big hospital. I'm supposed to be working with two other people. I get in there, and the evening shift person is sitting there with their bags at the door, has the phone, and just goes, "Here you go. The two other people called out. You're by yourself."
Deuces.
Yep. And then they're like, and the manager is the one who's on call.
I am
They're
the
like,
manager.
give him a call and let him know what happened. So I call him up, and he's like, "Oh yeah, well, I've already had a couple alcoholic beverages, so I can't come in."
Ayo.
And I'm like, "Oh, okay. What do I say? He's my manager, and I just started. This is my first day."
That's a solid excuse right there.
So
Sorry, I'm half in the bag,
So
Eddie. You're on your own.
my first job as an X-ray tech, I was completely by myself,
Wow.
and I was just sitting there
That's,
hoping that I didn't get anything that I wouldn't know.
We call
and so
that-
that was probably the most terrified I've ever been.
You didn't have
And I
that
don't-
Bontrager /
Oh, I had the little pocket one.
Philip Behringer.
Yeah, I had the pocket bond triggers, but I mean, it's,
We use Behringer, right?
luckily the CT tech, I had gone to this hospital as one of my rotations as a student, so luckily
Merrill's.
I knew the CT
Merrill's.
tech. Oh yeah, Merrill's.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I knew the CT tech, so I went over there, and she was like, "Yeah, that's really screwed up." And she's like, "If you need anything, you can call me." And so I was
that was
grateful
cool.
for that. Yeah,
Yeah, man.
Dang.
We call that baptism by fire.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
That's
So that's probably the
pain-inducing.
most terrified
till
I've
you make
ever
it.
been. But I mean, I've had other experiences,
choice.
but that's probably the most terrified because I wasn't sure if I knew what I was doing.
Yeah, mine was. I was always afraid of doing OR when I was a student. I don't know why. I was just always afraid. But the
No,
thing
that's
was,
super
like,
common, man.
I was. It's
intimidating.
you know what? Well, I mean, I was young, so I didn't want like I knew the physician would probably scream at me or something like that. So and of
That's
course,
it right there. Yeah.
I was just really intimidated.
That's what I sort of liked about OR was that if you weren't doing a swell job, you got direct feedback promptly.
Very.
I remember when we went to Endo, and we were doing an ERCP.
I'm fighting the urge to not go. Shout out to Endo. I got to stop doing shout outs. I'm sorry. Shout out to Bronx and ERCPs. What else did they do there? Colonoscopies.
Ursups.
Shout out to Endo. Sorry, I'll stop doing that.
We're doing an ERCP and like we're just showing the abdomen, and I remember the physician going, "All right, show me the tail of the pancreas." So I'm just like,
"Oh, bruh."
He's like,
"That's in the body."
He's like, "No, it's." Do you not know where the tail of the pancreas is?
Affirmative.
And so, like, I looked at my tech, and I was looking at it. I was like, "Oh, where's the tail of the pancreas, bro?"
Did you like put contrast in there?
Yeah. So he promptly took over, and I was like, I just remember that to this day. And
that's a big ask. I don't know if I had to do that right now. I'd probably struggle a little bit with it.
But the thing is, it's like that's why I don't do that to people.
Well, I would have been like,
I don't ever say.
I thought you meant the head. I'm sorry.
Yes. Where's the pancreas again, sir?
I didn't know where the pancreas was. I was like, what organ is that?
Scientifically, they don't know what it does precisely, sir.
Is there a pancreas
I'm having trouble
bone?
with machine real quick here.
Google. They didn't have Google back then. It was Ask Jeeves.
Pat, did you have something?
Terrifying experience or rough? Okay. First week. It wasn't my first day. I wasn't but it was my first week as a tech. I'm in the ER and pretty standard chest X-ray on a 9-year-old boy. Pretty standard. And I'm on one knee to get down to his height, and he's kind of pitching a fit. And I'm trying to knock this out real quick. I'm pretty sure I was by myself. And he's kind of flailing about, and I'm trying to position him and keep him still and kind of get him to stay there and run back real fast. And you know how kids do. They kind of go limp when they're trying to, when you try to pick up a kid and they really don't want to cooperate. They're just going to kind of go limp and make it that much harder for you. Well, he was doing that. I'm like, oh, here he goes. He's doing the old limp body move. And then he's completely out of it.
I could beat that.
He was there for a high-grade fever. And then he starts seizing. So he was just getting cooked, man. He had a really high temperature. And the way that it was like an x-ray room that was sort of in the ER lobby. Mm-hmm. It's at least right there adjacent to it. And he goes limp. He starts seizing. And I was still on my one knee to try to help position him. And I was able to reach and open what is essentially the ER lobby door. And as just luck would have it, a nurse was walking by. And I was like, here's how I went in my mind. I was like, we need help. We got a 9-year-old boy. High-grade fever, seizing. I need assistant stat. How it actually went down, because I talked to that nurse like many years later, whenever I would be with students and I would see that nurse, I'd be like, hey, that's so-and-so. She saved my bacon my first week, man. I took control of the situation mostly, but she really helped me out because she actually took control. She actually took control of the situation. She saw me. I was probably white as a ghost, man. I was just scared out of my mind. And she got him on a stretcher. She was calling you ma'am. She got him on a stretcher right to an ER room because he was in the lobby. And when I would see her, I saw her many years later. She goes, "Is that how you thought it went down, Patrick?" She goes, "Because it wasn't like that, sweetheart." I was like, "Oh." She goes, "It was just me going." I opened the door. I was like, "Help me, please, help me." And that's. I'm going to say her take on it was probably way more accurate because it was terrifying. And to this day,
she calls you Patricia.
When I see a high grade fever, I'm like, all right, easy. It was.
I actually had a coworker
like this.
A coworker on my overnight shift coded.
Oh, coded.
Yeah, coded.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
that's a different.
Yeah,
beast.
that was probably pretty crazy too. Ooh. Very scary. And then
I mean, if you're gonna code, that's a pretty sweet spot to code.
and then afterwards too, I'm like, oh shit, I'm still at work. I gotta shoot X-rays.
I gotta knock out this stat.
No, I was because I was following this worker,
Yeah.
and they took her up to ICU, and then I'm like, oh, I'm still working.
I gotta go back to work.
Yeah, I gotta go shoot some X-rays.
Oh wow.
Oh man, that adrenaline.
Oh yeah.
Coming down off that adrenaline. You just,
Oh, I
just
was
wanna
like,
go home.
I was like shaking.
Like I'm pretty sure my work's done. Like I did all I could do today.
Oh, and this too is at a point in time where they didn't want the call person to come in, so they're like, yeah,
How's that
we
work?
pay a person on call, but we don't want them to come in. So they're like, yeah, just do the best you can. We'll see if one of the morning persons can come in like 30 minutes early to help you with the portables. I'm like, oh,
Gee,
all
well,
right.
thanks.
Yep.
John, you have one?
Yeah, I had a similar. I can't remember if it was how far into my X-ray career was, but I know it was overnights in the ER and had this old guy, and it was just for a foot X-ray. So get him on the table, his foot's all bandaged, and have him. He was like, "Oh, I can take the bandage off." Takes the bandage off.
Some toes fall off.
Yeah, he took the bandage off.
Yeah.
I take one X-ray, and then I have him go into a lateral. And
You're like, why is that PA?
when I pick the cassette up, because it was
was
still
something
doing
still on the
free cassette. Yeah, the toe literally slid off the cassette, and
I've had a similar
I
thing happen.
freaked out, and I was like so scared because I'm like, how did I knock his toe off? I mean, I've never seen
What did
anything
I
like.
do?
I didn't even know what this could happen. Like, so
My
I-
patient didn't even know their toe fell off.
Yeah, I'm sure it was already just
Yeah.
off and just in the bandage.
What's his name? Kevin Bacon.
Not that crisp.
Were you at a trauma one, or was that just a fluke kind of?
And well, now that I'm aware, I'm sure it was just some nasty gangrenous toe with osteomyelitis or something that
Yeah.
it was. But yeah, no, we were just a small ER at the time doing overnights.
Ooh,
So
that's rough.
that was my excitement, and I pretty much pooed my pants.
Yeah, that's
When that happened, I had to go get someone and
Justifiable
I was
response.
like, "Here's the toe back." Like
Bro,
picked up on a towel, and
oof,
that was probably my most memorable experience.
that sounds downright traumatizing.
What about foreign objects and orifices?
That's another.
That'll be another episode.
That's for the slideshow.
Oh, we could legit do a full.
Oh my.
Oh
Full
yeah.
slideshow.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think my favorite is an aerosol can
Oh, yeah.
up the rectum, and it was a CT scan, and the sagittal looks like the can is spraying in the colon.
We had someone. They had a vibrator up, and the surgeon would not do the surgery until the batteries wore out and it stopped vibrating.
Oh my
Too
god.
I
much
think they had to
motion.
wait like 6 hours.
Too much motion.
Wow, that's wild.
Anyways, so we're actually coming to a close. Quickly, right now, how much did you start out with, Eddie? Like, what was your pay?
Just coming out of school.
I know people are gonna wanna
Now
ask.
this was 16 years ago, so you got to count that. But
Right.
it was $16 for full time. I think it was like $16.50.
Oh, bro.
And then, but I also worked per diem at a hospital, and it was 23, I believe.
Oh, for PRN.
16?
Oh, that's
Yeah,
pretty good.
for per diem. Yeah, 16 for full time with benefits and everything. And I had only had about maybe 2 months of experience, so.
That's pretty low for.
And it was an it was an outpatient. Also.
Oh,
yep.
that's why.
It wasn't a hospital.
Sometimes
Yeah.
some of those places they get you on that.
Yeah.
But I mean, but it was sweet. It was a sweet gig because it was Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, holidays off, weekends off, no call. So I mean,
Yeah.
I was happy. And plus, I was working at McDonald's doing $5.25 an hour. So
Yeah.
16
It's a
was
big get.
amazing.
That's triple
Yeah.
pay raise.
I'm no mathematologist. That's like a 66% pay increase. Can we Google that? No, you're good.
I just remember my
300%.
friends didn't have jobs at the time, and I'm like, you guys want to go out to the bar? And they're like, we don't have any money. I'm like, I got you.
I got this. Oh, I
You're
did
like,
that too.
ballin'.
Then again, I was still living at home.
I was too.
Easily living at home.
And when I got my first apartment, I was like, we're going to divide up this Moons Over Miami here at Denny's? Because you had a bite. I saw you had a bite. John, that's at least $4 bite you had there.
Oh man, that's a. Actually have a story for that, but I'm not going to tell it now. But Pat, how much did you make?
Right out the gate, it was probably 18 and change back in the day.
right.
18 and change, but it's weird as I've gotten older. That's still like my baseline.
Oh,
So when I hear text coming out like, yeah, I'm only making like 26 bucks an hour, I'm like, bro, I had to get a couple degrees and 5 years under my belt to make that. But
it took me like 3 years to get that.
These young bucks are
working
starting
my
out
butt
there.
off.
Oh no, I was like 17 something on the weekends,
okay.
man. But I mean, it was for the weekends too. Like it wasn't good.
get
But
that
I was
diff,
like,
that shift diff.
because like I would hear from the grapevine, I was like, oh yeah, I'm making 18. Oh, I'm making 19. I was like, oh, I'm making 17.
Yeah,
25.
which back then that's a big deal. You're just like,
I was like,
no Rolls Royce for
whatever.
me.
The
Yeah.
dollar difference was huge back then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's what I used to do the per diem, and then I did overnights on the weekends. So I was
Oh,
getting
double
all
whammy.
of this shit. I was making like $5 more an hour.
Triple whammy. Yeah, you're getting everything.
John.
I started at, I think it was like 1823.
Oh wow,
And it was just
bro, you got down to
like
the
a random
cent.
random cent.
That's
But that
pretty
was
awesome.
like but was that per diem?
And that was our standard, and then we didn't get a separate per diem. There was no difference in pay. That's just what we got, and then depending on what shift you got.
What are they making
$1
now?
or $2.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably what they want to know. But
Well, you know what you're not going to be making.
yeah, exactly. You're not going to be making.
You'll be making more than
17.
what all of us
If
said.
you're listening to this, please give us a copy of your 2022 W-2s. I want to know exactly how much you're making right now as a Radiologic Technology.
Account number
I'm sure
2
it's at
will
least
help.
$10 more an hour.
Easy, yeah. Rightfully so.
Do you? But seriously, do you guys know how much?
No, I really don't know.
How much they're starting out?
Oh, like 23.
I was just say yeah, probably
I'm sure
around
23 to 24 starting out is probably average.
Yeah. Well, then once
Hey,
you start getting extra stuff,
John, do a quick Google and see what the.
X-ray tech, average.
there. Do it
salary,
for like Hillsborough County.
Moat.
Yeah.
Nicole's on it now.
Well, it's not going to break down by the hour. Let's see. Well, it says Radiologic Tech 49 to 71 a year, depending on who you are.
Oh,
I mean, okay,
71
That's
is
25.
higher.
So even low end 49 is $24 to $25 an hour.
Yeah. That's not.
I want to say like I think my first year as an X-ray tech, I think I pulled like 30,000 or something like that.
Nice.
Like 30, 35.
That's big ups from 525 an hour.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So.
One last thing before you wrap it up.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Rote memorization. ROTE.
Rote
not moat.
memorization. Moat.
Give us the definition.
See, Google has that.
Yeah, well, yeah, because they don't usually
Because
have
it's a
good search
word.
results on fake words.
Requires the use of repetition to keep information in the brain.
Bro.
Well, that's how I did half of my schooling.
Two simple
It's
examples
funny that
of
I
rote
wrote.
learning include memorization, the alphabet, and numbers.
I think it's painfully ironic that I couldn't memorize the definition or word of rote memorization.
Rote memory
is why I
has been found to be
struggle.
extremely effective in teaching basic math.
This is why I struggled with radio bio.
Wow. All right. So, how did being
You should have
an
known
RT
that. Röntgen wrote.
I know. See, I was good at those kind of things. Hindsight.
That was tough.
Yes. Oof.
Air camera, dab.
Oh, well, that's my bread and butter now.
It hurt.
For sure.
So, how did being a general radiographer help you progress into your careers? Actually, the question is, what can it do? Like, what are the other avenues that you can go into if you're an RT?
Well, for me, that's what was one of the appeals.
Absolutely.
Was it wasn't so terminal. Like there's other career paths where the job is the job, but X-ray, man, you can go into. Just look at X-ray. You can go into inpatient, outpatient, OR, ER, urgent care, travel, all kind of different facilities.
Mobile.
Mobile. Yeah, one of our classmates
Well,
still does mobile.
Yeah, well, even more. I mean, just
You can open up your own mobile
Oh, yeah.
company.
And make good money.
Now it's
yeah. I mean, you don't even have to keep practicing as a tech. You can go into any of these EMR companies.
Yeah.
You can sales.
Oh yeah.
Device companies, device reps. You can work for the, the
And that's just the
equipment
baseline.
manufacturers. Yeah,
You can train new X-ray
basic.
techs on how to use equipment that they buy.
and
to
then
ask
there's
people.
education is a whole other thing, and then
Of course, management, right? Management too.
Sure, yeah. And then you have all the modalities, man.
yeah,
You
basic
got
right,
CT,
radar
MRI.
inverters,
Some
is
requiring
the
school,
gateway.
some don't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, OJT or just you just pass the cert. So,
Yeah, you know-
I like it.
But again, so that actually conversation right there is another thing we need to hit on our podcast. So,
I want
as
to. I
far
want to
as-
dive into next podcast. Or a podcast. We should dive into the RA world because I don't know much about it.
yeah, and then that's something that we actually do want to cover also because this is a big thing because it's actually a career pathway for RTs.
Well, I never knew you could be an RA
Yeah, see,
for the longest time.
and that's not.
And that's probably because your hospital just didn't utilize them. See,
yeah.
my hospital was pretty. They
One of the
were
first
they were
ones.
one of the first ones.
Yep.
The first time I ever heard of an RA was when I started working with Roosevelt.
Oh, so that wasn't that long ago. See, yeah. So I saw them early on in my X-ray career. And I was like, oh yeah, this makes sense. Yeah, that it definitely helped. It seemed, as an outsider looking at it, it seemed to really free up the rads.
Yeah,
A
I mean, we
tremendous
always
amount.
had PAs when I first started out, and that kind of interested me in why I wanted to be an RA. I was like, oh, I want to do that. And then when
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
told me that, hey, there's a pathway
And you already
as
had
an
your 4
X-ray
year
tech,
under your belt.
yeah,
Oh, nice.
why not already go into that? And so, it just made more sense to become an RA than to go into PA.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. We should really.
I
dive
do
into
know
that. That'd
some
be fun.
X-ray techs though that did go into the PA program.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
There's
we
definitely I think, educational gap between as a modality because it's newer, even though it's been around for about 20 years,
Yeah.
or actually 25 years.
Has it been 25?
It's getting up there.
Yeah, but again, that's another time because it's a deep conversation that we have to have, and it actually affects every one of us, even general RTs too. So I mean, so that's definitely another topic to hit on later.
Wrote.
Moat.
It's memory. Road.
Man, that is embarrassing.
But
Shout out to
that's-
Webster's.
This is going to conclude our podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed it. The reason why we're doing this is basically to promote our profession. Again, we love what we do, and we want to make sure that everybody else is proud of what they do. And that's something that I feel that we're lacking. And we're behind the scenes and we're not recognized a lot, but it's something to be proud of.
Yeah, man.
And, because
Absolutely.
it wasn't easy. School wasn't easy.
Nope.
Right? It's
The job ain't easy.
yeah, just because
it's even harder
it's,
now, man.
it's very superficial when people look at it. It's like, oh, you just press a button.
It's a
yes.
button pusher,
Button
yeah.
pusher.
But they don't
Balls.
understand the physics and radiation biology and stuff behind it, and
Position.
the
Yeah.
anatomy that we know. I mean, come on.
All the rote memorization
I
you
think
have to do in school.
another thing is it's tough to describe to people what we do. I mean,
Yeah.
because you can say, oh, you take
Good point.
X-rays. It's tough to unless you know about what we do. It's tough to
You know what? I
describe
never thought of that
because
point. That's
no one's gonna understand. Oh, you do this. Oh, yeah.
Also, it's better to be a button pusher than a gel spreader.
Yeah.
that too.
Shout out to ultrasound techs.
Yes. Shout out.
We have a lot of friends who are ultrasound techs too. I mean, we're all a family, I guess, in our modalities.
Straight up.
But, all right. Well, this concludes our podcast. Cathode Jockeys, look us up.
Can I say, and you can edit this out if you want. I've always wanted to say this.
Go ahead.
I got your permission.
Oh yeah.
Don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button.
Oh yeah. Definitely do that.
We're out.
All right. Episode 2 through. Thank you so much for listening. As always, we really, really appreciate it. The only price for admission for this podcast, tell a friend. And if you're really feeling froggy, follow us on the socials. Usual suspects. We got TikTok. We got Facebook. We got the Instagram. If you want to reach out to us, have any questions, want to sponsor us, cathodejockeys@gmail.com. And always, we really, really appreciate your support. That's all we got. Take it easy.